Hello, everyone. Welcome to another Better Call Saul reaction. And obviously, the first thing you'll notice is I'm not alone. I'm joined by my friend Kevin. How you doing, Kevin?
Doing good. How are you?
He's very new to this. He's never done this before. But the reason I have him on is because he came over to visit. We watched the episode together. We both watched the show for... You've been watching it since the beginning, right?
Actually, no. I jumped in rather late. I think I started around maybe season 3-ish.
Oh, okay.
Are we okay to talk about spoilers?
Yeah, because
this
is literally the reaction to the latest episode.
Okay. I think I popped in around season 3, roughly around near the ending of after Chuck passed away.
Yeah,
I think that was season 3.
The fire, yeah.
Right. I think that's when I hopped in and started watching the show.
Yeah. But you've been a big fan of it for a while now.
Yeah.
And I have too, obviously. And I was really interested to bring him on too because I think I have a very different reaction than a lot of people because I'm a quote-unquote critic. That doesn't really mean anything, but I think I've been talking about this in the previous videos that a lot of times if you're just like a casual watcher just watching for fun or whatever and not to like make a whole review out of it, you might think about things differently. So before we get into the episode itself, which a lot of thoughts to talk about, what have your thoughts been on maybe this season specifically? Like, how have you been enjoying it?
Well, with this season, it's been rather interesting because maybe I'm sort of trying to relate it too much to Breaking Bad, where I felt like with Breaking Bad, it was more what you saw, you kind of understood.
Yeah.
With this season, I would say, especially episode 1, when they were doing the review over, remember the farmer?
Yeah.
When he went to the farm,
Yeah.
and everyone's, I was like, how is this significant?
Yeah.
And I was like, is there any background as to what's happening here? And then I was just like, what's the significance of what's happening with the farm? So, and that's how I kind of felt with this season. I was like, not everything is kind of laid out for you. You kind of have to infer a lot.
Yeah.
Especially with that one. Like, I was like, so why does this guy, the farmer, what is so significant about him?
Yeah.
And I was like, just so confused.
Yeah.
And so I had to read up on it. And it's like, hey, did anyone ever connect the dots that this guy looked so similar to Lalo?
Mm-hmm.
And I was just like, I mean, I guess, but I was like, what's the point of that? And you're like, oh, keep the soul patch or something.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, keep it. And I was like, why is he saying that? And so I read it, and they're like, eventually someone had to lay it out. Say, oh, that was his body double.
Yeah.
That he was like,
left
he did
the body
dental
there so that they'd think he was dead.
Yeah, exactly. And I was just like, after someone explicitly told me, and I was like, oh, okay, now it makes sense. And I was like, okay.
Yeah.
I don't think I would have really fully grasped that unless someone said it.
You bring up a very interesting point, which is that, like, you're right. A lot of this stuff has really not been super clear or apparent in the moment. And much more so than compared to Breaking Bad. There was stuff in Breaking Bad that's like, oh, it will pay off later or something. But usually... You kind of understood semi-quickly what they were doing,
Right.
They didn't leave you on this, like, oh, it'll make sense way later on kind of thing. Occasionally they did, but for the most part it was straightforward. And this season has been much more, just kind of slower pace, building it out, stretching it out for a longer period of time.
Right, I agree, because I felt like one of the things that I don't know if it's like all too big of a complaint, but I've noticed it more that they kind of draw out that intro scene.
Yeah.
Much more longer. Or I felt like whatever message they're trying to portray in that beginning segment, it's like, I felt like you could have shortened it down.
Yeah.
Especially the one for today. I was like, this is kind of long.
It goes on for a long time.
Yeah, I was like, okay, show Lalo leaving the sewers. I was like, come on, man, you can cut this out.
Yeah.
Just where's all the
Here's something I want to bring up too. So we'll go quickly through the story because I usually just kind of tell what the plot happened is. We open with Lalo. He's in a sewer coming out like Mario or something. he is watching Los Pollos Hermanos like through the sewer grate, like the clown in It.
He's watching the laundromat.
Yeah, exactly. And then he calls Hector on the phone, and this was a mistake because he realizes that the line is bugged. And he realizes now that he kind of gave himself away. Mm-hmm. And so he calls him again and tells him, like, he gives a fake message. He's like, I'm going to go kill Gustavo to kind of, like, flush them all out of hiding, you know? Right. We don't know exactly what his plan is, but we'll circle back to that in a second. The other thing is that it's the culmination of the plan, right? The title of this episode, by the way, Plan and Execution, has a very double entendre meaning, where the plan to kind of frame Howard as a drug addict, it all comes together. I think it jumps forward very quickly compared to like the very slow build-up that we've been having. But basically, they took fake pictures with a judge to make him think that the judge was corrupt. They drugged him to make his eyes, look like a drug addict. They made him all paranoid and stuff, so he'd come off crazy. Again, very similar to what they did with Chuck, right? They kind of were like gaslighting him, so he would like flip out in front of the...
When he was like for example, when he did his... Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The hearing that Chuck did, and they're just like, are you crazy?
Yeah, like to make them look unhinged, you know? So that way, whenever he blamed it on Jimmy, which of course, he had all the facts right. He knew 100% it was all Jimmy. People wouldn't believe him because he acted so crazy that it would just come off in a bad way. But that all happens. They force Sandpiper to settle. They celebrate. Howard comes over drunk. Very nice, character moment where he's just laying it out on the table. Like, you guys fucked up my life. You're bad people. Fuck you. And then, of course, the very dramatic conclusion, which is Lalo shows up out of nowhere. And fucking blows Howard's brains out. And we end it there. He wants to talk with Saul and Kim, and we'll figure out what he wants to do. But that's what happens in the episode. Now, there's a lot of topics we can talk about here, but I want to ask you a question, which is, I've had a very, I think, negative reaction to Lalo throughout this season and kind of his whole run. I've kind of phrased it like this. I feel like Lalo is the Boba Fett of this show. And what I mean by that is Boba Fett was a character who people, like, he's a fan favorite. Like, everyone thought, oh, Boba Fett's so cool. He's the guy in Star Wars with the with the mask and the jetpack and stuff. Right. But if you actually look at what he did over the original Star Wars or whatever, I don't know about any of these new movies or anything. He loses every time he does something. He fails every single time. I've
noticed, or at least, I'm not a big fan of Star Wars either, but at least from my understanding, this guy's like a top-notch, like, bounty hunter or something like that.
That's what people think, because he looks... Oh,
right, that's fine.
Okay. That's what people think because he looks cool and he comes off cool. But if you actually look at all the things he tries to do, he fails at it. And this is not a Star Wars discussion per se, but my point was Lalo is a fan favorite in the Better Call Saul community. Everyone's like, oh, Lalo's so cool. He's so cool. But to me, if you actually look at what he's done, he's failed at almost everything. In season 4, he's trying to get the location of the super lab. He's trying to go after Werner. He fails, right? Mm-hmm. He doesn't get it then. We'll talk about what he does later. He thinks that he burned down the Los Pollos Hermanos location, but it wasn't him. Gus was already aware of it, and he burnt it down himself to make Lalo think that he did it. So he fails that.
Right.
I will admit, last episode, the last review I did, I made a mistake. He does kill people. I said he only killed people who couldn't fight back, like that guy at the clerk store, the money cashing place. He does kill the guards the hitmen when they come to his lab. So I admit I didn't factor that in. True that. Mm-hmm. But aside from that one dramatic moment and this dramatic moment at the end here, he's really kind of a failure. And even in this episode, he fails, right? He calls Hector and gives away his location. again, I felt like they made him fail too often for him to be like the big bad villain, because that's what they're trying to set him up as, right? He's like the main villain of the later half of the show,
right?
And I'm just wondering what your thoughts have been about Lalo.
Well,
and you could disagree with me too.
No, it's I'm trying to think about it, because you brought up a good point. The giving away his location, that was a good point. Because thinking about it, I'm like, all right, that was actually a rather big failure, actually, just because of how serious it is. You know, he gave away his location, or they literally have proof he's alive.
Yeah, before they did. Yeah,
exactly. So now, cat's out of the bag. He's alive, but I'm trying to factor in, like, he did fail.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it wasn't necessarily his fault. He trusted Nacho.
Yeah.
And Nacho was the guy who literally he ran into a raided building.
Yeah.
To get the drugs. Yeah. And I was like, this motherfucker's crazy.
Yeah.
But he did it. He succeeded. And he was like, hey, this guy's willing to jump into a raided building, get the drugs, and dip out. So I was like, at least, I think that's fair enough.
Yeah.
Reason why Lalo was like, okay, maybe this guy is sort of trustworthy.
Yeah.
He's willing to do some crazy shit. So I can't necessarily fault him on those things, like the lies that Nacho led him to believe. Because Nacho was feeding all the information to Gus.
No, yeah.
So I can't necessarily say, like, it was all his fault, though. Yeah. Like, when Lalo failed, it wasn't necessarily because he didn't really think it through. It was just he was led to believe something else.
Yeah.
But, right, this most recent fault in this episode really just kind of, like, it was so serious. It was, like, dumb. Right. I was like, oh, man, dude. Like, how do you do this, though? Yeah. Like, everyone's just, I mean, we're not all criminal masterminds, but still, it's just like, you're really gonna try to contact your relative, the one where Gus, he knows how much Gus hates this guy.
I know, like, why wouldn't you think that he would put a tap on, if he went to all this trouble, right? And you know about it, why do you think he wouldn't put a tap on that phone?
Exactly, so it's just like, dude.
That was dumb, and I don't know why they show him failing like this, because it kind of hurts him a little bit as a villain. I talked about this before, that one of the things that was so scary about Gus being like the villain of Breaking Bad for a good chunk of it, at least, was he never failed at anything he did, except one time, which was he let, like, Walt kill Gale. But other than that, remember that scene when Walt put a bomb on his car? And then Gus just stops, right? And it's just like, I just said, and you like, how does he know that?
Right.
But he just is so smart that he could just, something is off here, and he makes the decision to go away. Right. And it completely fucks up Walt's plan.
Exactly.
That's why he was so fucking intimidating. And one of the things, too, I've not liked about the season was the fact that they really go to lengths to show you everything. You were talking about this before with, like, the sewer thing, right?
Exactly.
We don't need to see all of that. You can just tell us, like, oh, it happened, right?
Right.
We don't need to see it all.
I feel like that's a really good point, because, I mean, I don't know if it's because there's so much that you want to put in to include, but it's like, I don't think this is needed. Like, we get the meaning, but you don't have to really just, like, stretch it out.
Show every single little tiny detail. I have heard some people point out in the comments that some of this was because of COVID, right? They couldn't film everyone in the same location all the time. So I think they padded it out with, like, a lot of scenes, because most of those scenes are one character by themselves.
Right.
So they could film it like that. That might be the case. And I totally understand that that's the reality of the world we live in, kind of. But it does, I think, make it... I don't think we needed, like... This is the 7th episode, right? We could have done all this stuff in probably, like, 4 episodes, really. If you cut out all the fluff, it could really be 4, and it feels a little padded out to me.
Right. I don't know. At the same time, I feel like there's so much possible information that they could add into, but I feel like they're leaving out. Like, I don't know what it could possibly be, so to speak, but it's just like, it feels... Like, it almost felt like they were rushing, but at the same time, as we can tell, they're not rushing.
Rushing in some ways, like on some boring stuff.
Right.
But also skipping ahead on some, like, oh, I would have loved to see more of this.
Exactly. Right.
Now, the one thing I really loved, and I've talked about this whole season, is I really, really like what they've done with Kim. I think I was talking about this before. When I first saw the show, I thought she was just going to be like another Skylar. You know, she's going to be
Kind
like,
of be on
oh,
side.
Jimmy, you know, don't do this, you know,
Right.
bad stuff. You need to be a good lawyer. And I'm going to leave you when you become Saul Goodman.
Mm.
But they've really taken her in like a different direction. Now it's like she's almost like the devil on Jimmy's shoulder, you know?
Yeah, like...
She's almost worse than he is.
Yeah, it's interesting, the route they're taking with her. I was just like... Because I think last week's episode was at least the
flashback.
or at least the initial segment was just about Kim getting in trouble, but then it was just like such a long segment, but it was just like Kim getting in trouble but getting away with it, and her mom's just like reinforcing that idea.
And you see why she kind of became the person she was, why she supports Jimmy all the time, because that's how she was probably raised, right? She was raised to like, oh, it's okay to do these things, and now...
If you can get away with it.
Yeah, and now she kind of feels that way. And she chose to help Jimmy over doing the noble thing, which was going to that lunch, right?
Right.
With, like, actually helping people. Because the helping people before was her kind of way to deal with it, like, oh, I'm doing bad stuff, but remember, I'm helping underprivileged people, so it's okay.
Right.
But now she's, like, fully... on the other side.
Yeah, she was like, she didn't even care about the luncheon. Where, for apparently, this luncheon, or the significance of it, was actually pretty big.
Yeah,
you know?
It was a legitimate way to help people, not through illegal activities, but like through helping the poor people.
Right.
She could do it this way, but when it came down to it, she chose to rather support Jimmy.
Yeah, she didn't even care. She was just like, it almost seemed like she didn't even go to whatever that was. And they just didn't care. She'd rather scam Howard.
It's like Howard said. They did it out of like joy. Like they they like doing this stuff. It's fun for them.
They literally banged.
Yeah.
When they knew that they
there's a scene when a deal goes through and they've won. They cuts to them and they're like having sex in the background.
Right. This
great shot. I love that shot.
Right when they knew Swiker was just gonna like, hey. What do we have to say to you? There's literally nothing to say to you guys.
That's so gross. When
you're going to take our offer. That's it.
That's like really gross when you think about it. Like it aroused them how much they were fucking over this guy.
Yeah, it's just like it's crazy. Like they had so much joy out of screwing over Howard.
It's just a game to them. It's like they won, right? Yeah. And we see at the end here that one of the constant themes of this show has been the fact that like. They think that it's not going to hurt anyone. They think it's going to be okay, but there's always consequences, right? I think Chuck has a line about this where he says that, like, you know, when you break the law, people get hurt. Like, he says that to Jimmy like the first season. Mm-hmm. And we see that there's consequences. They thought they would screw over Chuck, right? And he'd be okay. You know, he'd bounce back or whatever. He committed suicide.
Right.
And Jimmy, again, has not taken responsibility for that. He just pushed it away. He buries his feelings about killing his brother, basically.
Right.
And
pushed it on Howard.
He pushed on Howard, and now Howard's paid the price for this too. Again, because Jimmy got involved with Lalo. You know, it's we're gonna see how he deals with this. Now, there is an element that we know how he deals with this because we know how he is in Breaking Bad. Mm-hmm. He's a jokester. He's jovial. He's like, you know, he doesn't care about the world because he's turned off his feelings.
Right.
He's like, I'm not going to feel it. I'm just, you know, going to tell my jokes. I'm going to do whatever, make money, but I'm not going to accept moral responsibility for my actions.
I really want to see how Jimmy reacts to Howard's death.
We all do.
It happened.
We all do.
Yeah, obviously. But I want to see how this really affects his character. Is this what seals the deal?
Yeah.
Is this what caused Jimmy to abandon Jimmy?
Yeah.
Is he finally
go fully into Saul?
Right. Like, is he so? Was this finally the straw that broke the camel's back? Is he now fully Saul Goodman?
Yeah. Well, the last piece of that puzzle is what happens to Kim. So
right.
People have been predicting that Howard would die. I mentioned it in one of the other reactions. That is sad because he's a great person, but the last big piece of the puzzle now is like, what is going to happen to Kim? Like, the question is, why is she not in Breaking Bad? Is she dead? Is she in prison? Did she leave Jimmy? There's a lot of possibilities, and I've said before, they've taken her in such a different direction than I originally thought. I don't know what they're going to do with her. Right. I really have no idea.
It seems like... I remember when we talked about this like a few seasons ago, before I think even season what season are we on?
6, yeah.
I think even before season 5.
Yeah.
And we're just trying to figure out, like, because we talked about it. We're like, hey, what's going to happen to Kim? She's not in Breaking Bad. So it's like, and we said, oh, she's just going to divorce Jimmy. Jimmy's just going to, take that as is, and he's going to change into Saul. But it's just like now, and we were saying, like, even back then, we said Kim wouldn't die because she's so integral to this, like, sort of situation. But at the same time, like, now that I think about it, with what you said, like, how are they going to deal with Kim? Because I can't see in any way, however they deal with how it's not supposed to affect Jimmy in Breaking Bad.
Yeah.
I can't imagine it now.
He really can't be with her. Like, some people were saying, oh, maybe she's just at home waiting for him or whatever. Like, no. We see him getting, like, hand jobs from, like, the masseuse. He's always flirting with that Francesca. The secretary.
Yeah, the receptionist.
Yeah. Right. So he's not with Kim. I do not believe that. Now, the question is, did she die and he's just pushing down his feelings? Did she go with the vacuum cleaner? Because we saw last episode he's going to get his black book from the veterinarian.
Yeah.
So that's how he knows all these like criminals, and one of them is the vacuum cleaner repair. Exactly. But that's where he got it from. So maybe because of what happens here or through the rest of the season, we're only halfway done. You guys got to remember that. We still have half a season to go. But because of that, maybe she has to go into hiding and she has to disappear, and maybe she'll be in the Gene timeline. That feels a little too, like, happy ending for this show to be like, oh, yeah, they're going to reunite in the sunset and go away. But we will see. I don't know. To be honest, this show has at times, like, just given the fans what they want. Breaking Bad too. Breaking Bad gave a very like satisfying ending. Walter White won at the end. He died, but he won. He defeated the Nazis. He got the money to his family, so he got what he wanted. So they might do something like that here. Who knows? But I mean, we've been at this for almost 25 minutes. So just any final thoughts you want to share about the episode?
Oh man, like. I'm going back to the episode where Kim, when they first meet Lalo, it was in the same apartment.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, when Kim first met Lalo, that episode, she basically manhandled Lalo.
Yeah.
Like,
I said that before, too. He looked like a bitch.
Yeah, she basically, like, hey, what the hell are you think you're doing? You're talking to the one lawyer who's doing everything in his power to get you out. She played Lalo in the palm of her hand, but now that cat's out back, Lalo blew someone's brains out, and it's just like, I just want to talk.
Yeah.
He's just like, quiet. I just want to talk. And it's just like, I think now, Kim's not going to know how to deal with Lalo.
No.
Like, before she was like, she didn't even know who Lalo was at that time. No. She was just like, she was still under, like, who's this guy?
Yeah.
He just wants to talk, and he just seems pretty damn threatening. Yeah. He didn't show a gun. I don't think he showed a gun at that time.
Maybe in like his waistband or something, but no, it was just his presence.
I think you're right.
That's how threatening it was. Yeah.
Right. So maybe she did know he was involved with the cartel.
Yeah.
Didn't think he was gonna blow.
Yeah.
Howard's brains out.
Yeah.
But it's gonna be interesting. Lalo is just gonna. I don't know what he's gonna do. I don't think he's gonna be the one that kills Kim. It's just so far out there that I don't think it's in the realm of possibilities that they do something like that. No, I agree. I'm actually a fan of Lalo. I love Ninja Lalo when he jumped out of the damn attic.
This is why I wanted him on, because he gives a different opinion than I do.
I love Lalo. He was so badass.
A lot of people do.
Especially when another favorite scene was when he's going to his compound and the guy's holding a fucking like AK at the window. It's just like rolls down the window. He's just smiling.
Yeah.
I also love this scene when he's beating the shit out of the German engineer. He's like, oh.
Chop that guy's head off.
Yeah, he's like, oh, I think you broke my... Because he was like, he was acting on it. He was like pleading with the guy. He's like, hey, no, relax. I think I'm just here for information.
And I think that is how the majority of the fan base reacts. And like you said, I wanted Kevin on here for a different opinion. You know, like again, I know sometimes like because I'm thinking about these things, knowing that like I have to review it. You know, give like a full review. I think about things like in a different way than if you're just like just casually like enjoying the show. So. I hope that you guys enjoyed this. I know it was a little bit different, but hey, it's a very different kind of episode than we normally get. I will talk about the cartoon, the Slip and Jimmy cartoon, which I didn't even realize that was coming out today, but I gotta sit with this for a little while. I will have a review for that out eventually, but for now, I'm just focusing on the actual show, you know?
Right. I don't know how they're going to have a Slip and Jimmy show when it doesn't even have...
It looks so weird, too.
Yeah, it looks...
Doesn't fit the art style at all. It's like, I don't know. I have no idea what to expect, but
right.
We can't get into all that.
It's Vince or Gilligan?
Maybe? I really don't know. I have not been paying attention. Like, I don't feel like there's been a big announcement of this. It just kind of happened, but... regardless, that will be a conversation for another time. Thank you guys so much for watching, and stay tuned for the next reaction coming in about a month or so here. We got a little bit of a break, but I'll talk to you guys then.